from downtown Salt Lake City. This is 2 News at 4.
We're counting down the days to the election day, and we're also counting how many ballots have been processed so far and how the numbers compare to the election 4 years ago.
I'm watching the tropics. I'll let you know where Tropical Storm Zeta is going coming up.
Plus, how doctors say ultrasounds could be key in treating coronavirus patients that are high at risk. All right, thanks for joining us for 2 News at 4:30. We are 1 week out from Election Day, and get this, nearly 25% of Utah has already voted.
That's a lot of people. We're joined now live to talk a little bit more about it by the Director of Elections, Justin Lee. Justin, thanks for taking a few minutes with us. So first and foremost, sort of where do we stand right now at this moment in time with people that have voted in Utah?
You know, we're looking really great right now. We have about 620,000 people who have voted already. To put that in perspective, that's more people than we had total in our last June primary, and anecdotally more than I've ever seen before a week out from election. So it's absolutely phenomenal.
And do you have any predictions? Are you expecting, record-breaking voters, I'm assuming? What's your prediction there?
Yeah, absolutely, we are expecting record-breaking turnout, and for a couple of reasons. One, presidential years are always really big. 2, we have more counties voting by mail than ever. In 2016, Utah County was not yet vote by mail, and adding them into the vote by mail mix in every other county, I think will turn up turnout to record-breaking levels across the board.
You know, because we're in such a unique year with the pandemic and people being quarantined and isolated, a lot of people around the country are voting by mail, Justin. Now, it's not entirely new here to the state of Utah. I think most people know that. But 2020 is the first year that we voted by mail entirely as a state. How has that been going logistically?
You know, it's been going really well. A couple of little hang-ups that we've had, and I'm sure people heard about the issues in Sanpete County, but those seem to be resolving and working well. So very minimal hang-ups, things are going well, and we want to keep seeing people voting by mail. If we keep up this rate, then we'll have very small lines on Election Day, which will help us all stay safe and stay physically distanced.
And Justin, do you have a breakdown of who is actually dropping their ballots into those drop boxes versus those who are putting it through the mail?
You know, anecdotally, we've heard from a couple of counties. Utah County told me they have about 60% of people putting those in drop boxes instead of putting them in the mail. And we love the drop boxes. They're great. We have more drop boxes in the state than ever before, and those go directly to the county clerk. So anyone who has concerns about the post office, put that in a drop box and it'll go right to the election officials.
And Justin, a lot of people want to know, will we have results on election night with so many mail-in ballots coming in? With respect to Utah, do you know when they can actually start opening up those ballots and start counting the votes? Do they have to wait until Election Day, or can they do that leading up to it?
You know, that's a great question. They're actually already processing those ballots. Our county clerks here in Utah can process ballots as soon as they're received. So we've been working on ballots for over 2 weeks now, and those ballots are ready to go, and they'll be tabulated on election night. And the more people who vote early, the more election results we'll have on election night. Now, if we have a very close race, which we've seen in the past, the 4th Congressional District, for example, it may take a few days or even a couple of weeks, but most races will be fairly clear on election night, I think.
And Justin, what would you say to those folks who are holding on to their ballots, wanting to take it in day of and not mailing it in right now?
I would say don't wait. Just get that ballot in there. If you want to go to the polls, there are in-person early voting locations available this week. So go to vote.utah.gov and look up those locations. But let's get those ballots in now. Let's not wait for Election Day. Let's keep physically distanced. Let's keep safe and still get everyone voting.
All right, Justin Lee, the Director of Elections, joining us live on 2 News, where nearly 25% of all of Utah voters, registered voters, have already cast a ballot. Thanks, Justin.
And a reminder to you,
Hey,
2 News has a tip line to help you through the election season. We're here to help investigate any voting issues that you might experience. So you can call or text 385-229-2316, but make sure that your first call is to your local election office. Another tropical system is expected to bring severe weather to the Gulf Coast. Zeta, the 27th named storm of the Atlantic season, it is strengthening on a path toward Louisiana again and Mississippi. That would make it the 5th named storm of the year to hit Louisiana since June.
The southern Gulf of Mexico has very warm waters. However, because of all of the storms that have moved across the northern Gulf of Mexico this year, the northern Gulf's waters are slightly cooler. So that would prevent the storm from strengthening any further than maybe a moderate Category 1 hurricane with winds probably around 80 to 85 miles per hour.
Wow. All right, sandbags are being prepared for potential coastal flooding. Louisiana is still cleaning up from Hurricane Laura, you'll remember, which in August caused an estimated $14 billion in damage and 42 deaths. We want to go to meteorologist Chase Thomason now, who is tracking this storm for us. Chase.
That's right, and it's a pretty large storm, even though it's still a tropical storm and not quite a hurricane. But what I've noticed in the past couple hours is you can see all these deep reds. Those are those thunderstorm clouds really rising, the convection building, so showing signs of strengthening now in the Gulf of Mexico. So here's the very latest data. Wind speeds now at 65 miles per hour. It has picked up speed, and that's going to be good news for the Gulf Coast. Right now to the northwest at 14 miles per hour. It's going to make that north turn later tonight, and then by tomorrow evening, that's when we expect landfall somewhere on the southeast coast of Louisiana, and that could be very close to New Orleans as a Category 1 hurricane. Wind speeds around probably 75 to 80 miles per hour, and then it's just going to be racing towards the northeast throughout the week and bringing more rain to the southeast. And they've had a lot of rain. It has been a historic season when it comes to tropical systems towards the Gulf Coast and the southeast. Not a ton of rain, but anywhere between 2 to 5 inches of rain expected with this storm, guys.
All right, not what that area needs right now. Thanks, Chase. Well, the U.S. is now averaging more than 69,000 new coronavirus cases a day, which is an all-time high, and 12,000 people have been hospitalized for COVID-19 in just the last month. That's a jump of nearly 40%. Meanwhile, a new report out finds that thousands of nursing homes all over the country are dealing with the shortage of much-needed PPE. 7 months into this pandemic, the analysis of government data found 20% of nursing homes had less than a 1-week supply of one or more types of PPE, like masks, gowns, by late August.
Researchers say ultrasounds could give them a better idea of which COVID-19 patients have a higher risk of dying. Doctors at hospitals across the Mount Sinai system in New York, they looked at ultrasound scans of the heart for 305 COVID patients. Well, 190 of those had structural heart damage. Researchers found ultrasounds were a better indicator than routinely run blood tests, and they say that ultrasounds could help them start treatment earlier and help more patients recover.
Well, the White House Coronavirus Task Force expects plans for distributing a COVID-19 vaccine to be submitted by state and local governments this week. It's a very critical step to try stopping the coronavirus, but one that medical reporter Liz Bonus explains is rather complex.
Hey everybody, hello to you. The deadline for each community having its own plan for distribution of one or more vaccines when available is November 1st. And while we don't know yet when a vaccine might be approved, coordinating this effort is critical to the right people getting it at the right time. The White House's Operation Warp Speed put out the request for these plans several weeks ago.
The plan includes things like unique cold storage requirements of some of these vaccines, the ability to distribute, and to some extent how we will prioritize based on national guidelines.
Dr. Steve Fagans is the medical director for one of the largest distribution plans in Ohio. He says drive-through clinics for a COVID vaccine are being set up much in the way we now have drive-through testing and flu vaccine clinics. The one challenge?
We have some complexities because the potential COVID vaccines will have 2 doses, separated by 3 weeks or 4 weeks. The anticipated first vaccines, Pfizer or Moderna, are both molecular vaccines. We've not had molecular vaccines in this country before, but they theoretically should be much better and much safer. We just haven't had a reason to do that.
A system for tracking those shots now also required.
If you get 1 dose of one vaccine, the second dose must be of the same vaccine. And so that 21 or 28 days, there is a reason for that, the booster dose at the second dose. And so a statewide data system that's privacy protected and very compliant is very much the next step.
Now, we will likely revise these as we get closer to distribution and guidelines are formalized with who should be given the vaccine first, which is likely to be linked to those at higher risk. I'm medical reporter Liz Bonus. We'll throw it back to you.
The increasing COVID-19 restrictions across Europe are crippling the international travel industry. While there's no coordinated travel ban across the continent, many, they're just choosing to stay at home. More than half of the 330 million jobs in the travel and tourism industry, they are forecasted to be lost by the end of the year. And experts say we can expect a GDP loss of $5.5 trillion.
County officials in Florida made surprise stops at Orlando theme parks to try to make sure everyone is following those important health guidelines. Magic Kingdom and SeaWorld got a passing grade. The inspectors, I should say, did see some guests not wearing a face mask at all times, but say park employees did work to enforce them. The Fun Spot theme park in Orlando was listed as not compliant because visitors ditched masks during those rides. And results for Universal Orlando are not yet available.
The Vatican is trying to convince Pope Francis to wear a mask in public. That's according to the Vatican's coordinator for its COVID-19 commission. The spokesman says he's hopeful, especially since he is in a high-risk age group. Pope Francis has been criticized for not wearing a mask in public, particularly at his Wednesday general audience in the Vatican. It's attended by several hundred people.
We still have chilly temps along the Wasatch Front right now in the low to mid 40s from Ogden down to Provo. It's about 15 degrees below average. I'll let you know when we'll see above normal temperatures, and I'll look at your Halloween forecast coming up in just a few more minutes.
Plus, a safe way to enjoy Halloween, how families in Utah County can socially distance and trick-or-treat at the same time. Stay with us.